Hello everyone. We are going to study about planning, its concept, importance and limitations. Planning is a primary function of management. It is universal in nature. Each and every human being is involved in one or the other form of planning. A teacher has to plan its teaching work before going to the class. In the same manner, a student plans his studies. The head of the family plans his expenditure according to his income. Even a housewife also prepares a plan for her daily expenditure. After going through this unit, the student, learner would be able to understand the concept of planning, describe the importance of planning, and understand the limitations of planning. All organizations, whether it is the government, a private business, or a small businessman, require planning. Planning occupies an important place irrespective of its size, nature, or location. All business firms would like to be successful, to increase their sales and earn profits. Therefore, businessmen have to think about future, make predictions and achieve target. To decide what to do, how to do, when to do, planning is done by them. Meaning of planning. Planning basically means thinking before doing. Planning seeks to bridge the gap between where we are and where we want to go. Planning refers to the process of setting objectives for a given time period, formulating alternative courses of action to achieve them, and then selecting the best possible alternative from among the various courses of action available. Thus, we can say that planning involves setting objectives and deciding in advance the appropriate course of action to achieve these objectives. In the words of Coons and O'Donnell, planning is deciding in advance what to do, how to do, and who is to do it. Planning bridges the gap from where we are to where we want to go. It makes it possible for things to happen. We have got another definition as given by Theo Heyman. In his words, planning is the function that determines in advance what should be done. It consists of selecting the enterprise objectives, policies, programs, procedures, and other means of achieving those objectives. In his planning, the manager must decide which of the alternative plans are to be followed and executed. Planning is intellectual in nature. It is a mental work. It is looking ahead and preparing for the future. Features of planning or characteristics of planning. We can see that planning has got the following features. First, planning focuses on achieving objectives. Planning is a primary function of management. Planning is pervasive. Planning is continuous. Planning involves decision making. Planning is futuristic. And planning is a mental exercise. Planning focuses on achieving objectives. In the words of Coons and O'Donnell, planning is to facilitate the objectives of the organization. Specific goals are set out in the plans along with the activities to be undertaken to achieve the goals. Thus, we can rightly say that planning is purposeful. Secondly, planning has no meaning unless it contributes to the achievement of predetermined organizational goals. No objective, no plan. The second feature of planning is that it is a primary function of management. Planning is said to be the primary function of management because it provides the basis for all other managerial functions. All other managerial functions are performed within the framework of the plans drawn. Thus, planning precedes all other managerial functions. This is also referred to as the primacy of planning. Planning is pervasive. This is the third characteristic of planning. Planning is required at all levels of management as well as in all departments of the organization. Planning is not an exclusive function of top management nor of a particular department. The scope of planning differs at different levels and among different departments. For example, the top management undertakes planning for the organization as a whole. Middle management does the departmental planning. At the lowest level, day-to-day operational planning is done by supervisors. Hence, we can rightly say that planning is pervasive and universal in nature. Planning is futuristic. Planning is said to be futuristic because it is forward-looking, it is based on forecasting, and is never done for the past. Planning essentially involves looking ahead and preparing for the future. The purpose of planning is to meet future events effectively to the best advantage of an organization. It implies peeping into the future, analyzing it, and predicting it. Planning is therefore regarded as a forward-looking function based on forecasting. Through forecasting, future events and conditions are anticipated and plans are drawn accordingly. Let us take an example. Sales forecasting is the basis on which a business firm plans its annual plan for production and sales. Planning is continuous. It means that planning is an ongoing process. Plans are prepared for a specific period of time, maybe for a month, a quarter, or a year. At the end of that period, there is need for a new plan to be drawn on the basis of new requirements and future conditions. Continuity of planning is related with the planning cycle. Planning is a continuous process because a plan is framed, it is implemented, and is followed by another plan, and so on. Planning involves decision making. Planning involves continuous collection, evaluation, and selection of data. It involves scientific investigation and analysis of the possible alternatives. Thereafter, decisions are made on the basis of organizational policies, programs, strategy, and objectives. Thus, planning essentially involves choice from among various alternative and activities. It involves thorough examination and evaluation of each alternative and choosing the most appropriate one. Planning is a mental exercise. Planning requires application of mind, involving foresight, intelligent imagination, and sound judgment. It is basically an intellectual activity of thinking rather than doing, because planning determines the action to be taken. Thus, planning is an intellectual activity based on logical and systematic thinking, involving foresight, visualization, and judgment rather than guesswork. Importance of planning. Planning provides direction. Planning reduces the risk of uncertainty. Planning reduces overlapping and wasteful activities. Planning promotes innovative ideas. Planning facilitates decision making. Planning establishes standard for controlling. Planning provides direction. This is the first importance of planning. By stating in advance how work is to be done, planning provides direction for action. Planning ensures that the goals and objectives are clearly stated so that they act as a guide for deciding what action should be taken and in which direction. If goals are well defined, employees are aware of what the organization has to do and what they must do to achieve those goals. Departments and individuals in the organization are able to work in coordination. Planning focuses on end result, move and direct all activities towards the achievement of goal. By stating in advance how work has to be done, planning provides a direction for action. Employees know in advance in which direction they have to work. This leads to unity of direction also. Planning reduces the risk of uncertainties. Planning cannot eliminate or change events, but they can be anticipated, and managerial responses to them can be developed through planning. It is planning which helps a manager to face the uncertainty, because planners try to foresee the future by making some assumptions regarding future, keeping in mind their past experiences and scanning of business environments. Planning reduces overlapping and wasteful activities. With clear indication in plan what is to be done, who will do it, etc., same work will not be done by two people. Therefore, there would be no duplication of task. Planning serves as the basis of coordinating the activities and efforts of different divisions, departments, and individuals, It helps in avoiding confusion and misunderstanding. Planning promotes innovative ideas. Before doing something, the manager must formulate an idea of how to work on a particular task. Thus, planning promotes innovative ideas. Planning forces managers to think differently and assume the future conditions. So, it makes the managers innovative and creative. Planning facilitates decision making. It is the function of planning which helps the manager to look into the future and make a choice from amongst various alternative courses of action. The manager has to evaluate each alternative and select the best possible alternative course of action. Planners check the pros and cons of all options and then take a decision. Planning establishes standard for controlling. Controlling means comparison between planned and actual output. And if there is variation between both, then find out the reasons for such deviations and taking measures to match the actual output with the planned. Therefore, we can say that planning is a prerequisite for controlling. The base or yardstick or the standard for comparing actual performance in controlling is given by planning. Thus, planning provides the basis of control. Having learned the importance of planning, let us now analyze its limitations. Firstly, planning leads to rigidity. Secondly, planning may not work in a dynamic environment. Third, planning reduces creativity. Fourth, planning involves huge cost. Fifth, planning is a time-consuming process. And last but not the least, planning does not guarantee success. Planning leads to rigidity. In an organization, a well-defined plan is drawn up with specific goals to be achieved within a specific time frame. These plans then decide the future course of action, and managers may not be in a position to change it. This kind of rigidity in plans may create difficulty. Sometimes planning does not permit a new way of doing once a plan is implemented. Planning may not work in a dynamic environment. The business environment is dynamic. Nothing is constant. The environment consists of a number of dimensions: economic, political, physical, legal, and social dimensions. The organization has to constantly adapt itself to changes. Example, there may be change in economic policy, change in fashion and trend, change in competitors' policy. A manager cannot foresee these changes accurately, and plan may fail if many such changes take place in the environment. Planning reduces creativity. Planning reduces creativity since people tend to think along the same lines as others. There is nothing new or innovative. The top management undertakes planning for the organization as a whole. Usually, the rest of the members just implement these plans. As a consequence, middle management and other decision makers are neither allowed to deviate from plans nor are they permitted to act on their own. Thus, much of the initiative
or creativity inherent in them also gets lost or reduced. Most of the time, employees do not even attempt to formulate plans. They only carry out orders. Planning involves huge cost. When plans are drawn up, huge costs are involved in their formulation. These may be in terms of time and money. Checking accuracy of facts may involve lot of time. Detailed plans require scientific calculations to ascertain facts and figures. There are a number of incidental costs like expenses on boardroom meetings, discussions with professional experts, and preliminary investigations to find out the viability of the plan. Sometimes the cost incurred may not justify the benefits derived from the plans. Planning is a time-consuming process. Lot of time is wasted in listing and evaluating various alternatives. Lot of time is needed in developing planning premises. Sometimes plans to be drawn up take so much of time that there is not much time left for their implementation. Planning does not give guarantee success. There is no guarantee that a plan which brought success in previous year will be successful in future also. This may be due to many unknown factors which may lead to failure of plan in future. Besides the limitations which we have just now learnt in the previous slide, we have also certain other limitations which are termed as external limitations to planning. These are technological changes, government policy, competitive products, change in taste and preferences, fashion, natural calamities. Despite limitations, planning cannot be considered a wasteful activity because it provides the basis for future and it is a tool which is to be used with caution. Thank you.